Let's just start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background.
My name's Mark Tissio. I'm a product manager, but I've had about 15 years experience in manufacturing and in mechanical engineering. So I spent 10 of those years in various roles for engineering and project management, and really found out that I was stuck, right? Like I wasn't getting too passionate about any of those roles. I was scared of getting stuck in those like felt-lying cubicle worlds. Joined a startup that was like adjacent to software and products, and really found that I enjoyed that. And more importantly, I enjoyed that scaling startup life where I can bring like some efficiency and some sanity to all the chaos of those startups. And that's where I felt like most appreciated, I guess. And that's when I was like, let's make this career pivot official. So yeah, that's me, just another manufacturing, mechanical engineering / software guy.
That takes me right back to one of our first conversations, actually. We were talking about how that is really your sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
And we need to like really emphasize that more in your narrative. So when you first have that realization of, I think that's where I can contribute most, and let's look into the pivot. What were some of the things that you started doing when you first decided that you could do that?
The first thing I did was really push myself into those official roles at my current company to try to because I didn't have much experience in it. So like official experience. So I was like really trying to get as much experience there as possible so I could know that I could talk to that. In this job market, I felt that there's people with way more experience than me that I can't compete with all of these hundreds of applications of people who have 10 years of product management experience. So there started to be some panic setting in and oh God, how do I make this transition? That was my initial thought when I first started, because it felt like there were a lot of mechanical engineering roles that I wanted. There were more product roles out there, but I had no idea. I wasn't even getting close to getting them. So it was a little panicky starting to set in.
Yeah. Would you say it was the panicky mode that set in that took you to the path where you're like, okay, I need to work with an expert? Or was it actually after trying it yourself first and then realizing something wasn't quite working?
I think I was trying it myself. So I really set out looking for a career coach type person, because what I found was I just couldn't synthesize my thoughts, right? It was just a mess of communication going on in my brain of, am I making the right pivot? How do I make that pivot? Should I stay a mechanical engineer? Would that be easier to get? It started seeking out some career coaching just to help me articulate exactly what I'm looking for. And I tried it for a month or two because I was really confident in my network, and that stuff was starting to move very slow. I had a couple things pop up. I didn't feel confident in being able to leverage that by itself. It's a combination of things, but it was hey, let's try it out for a little bit of myself. Let's look for some career coaching, see where I land.
What would you say was the most painful part of the journey when you were looking on your own before you joined a program, have a career coach, have a community? What was the most frustrating or painful part of it?
It felt like there was about 20 different paths that I could, things that I needed to do. And I had no idea what I should focus on, right? Should I focus on rewriting my resume? Should I focus on networking? Should I focus on applying to the right companies, looking at the company? Should I upskill? It was being overwhelmed with not knowing the path to take, I think, was the hardest.
No, totally. And it might seem obvious, but why not do them all? Is it a time thing? What's the reason for not just try it all?
That's a good question. I feel that I didn't try them all because I wasn't confident that I was doing any of them correctly. And I didn't want to waste time doing something incorrectly. So then I got overwhelmed and I was then I'll just do nothing.
Yeah. I think it's actually very human, right? It's literally if you sit in the car and you have a million destinations you could put in, but you don't really know what to put in.
Yeah.
Then you just end up sitting in the car. You're not really exploring. Maybe you explore a little bit, but it doesn't get you closer to where you might need to be.
Or you're just browsing Netflix and you're just looking around for an hour and not watching anything.
100%. And then in the end, you're just let's just go to bed.
Yeah.
So what would you say, what made you choose this program over other options? Could be other programs. It could be watching free resources on YouTube or whatever it is.
The free resources on YouTube had the same problem that I just described. I don't know if that was correct. And I think what made me choose this was the initial email, that cold outreach email that you shot out, because it felt she gets it. I don't know where to start, right? And it was one of those things where it felt like I just needed to pick a lane. And that was, you kind of got on my mind there. And it felt just like targeted towards my issue, like very specifically. Yes, I don't know where to even start. That's problem number one, right? I'm not trying to like make a ton more money. I'm not trying to be an expert in my field, although I probably will get there. I'm trying to just like get my thoughts together.
Yeah, totally. And obviously with this kind of programs, it is an investment, right? So were there some hesitations that you had that you remember?
Yeah. The big hesitation I remember was, and I literally thought, is this legitimate? I'm spending a lot of money here. Is this not going to work? And it was more so that like fear of, is this not going to work? That was like the big hesitation. Yeah. And ultimately, like I landed on, let's just take a shot. Like, why not?
Yeah, yeah. What gave you ultimately enough leap of faith to say, okay, let's give it a shot? If there's part of you that still is saying that this might not work overall, or this might not work for me. Actually, which one of it was it more, you think? Is it more, what if it just doesn't work in general, or what if it doesn't work for me in my case specifically?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both, because in my mind, they're the same thing. I think it was just that general, I think it's like a general anxiety or hesitation that I have before like any big purchase, right? What if I'm making the wrong choice? So I think it was just like, I just needed to recognize that myself, is that I get anxiety before every big decision like that. And like my gut reaction is to not do it, right? So like this time I was just like, let's just do it, right?
How did you override it?
I honestly think it's like, for me, I'm a very like logical, like engineering based person. And like how I override that is like, what is the worst case scenario? And is the pros out? Is the worst case scenario that bad? So like the worst case, that's unfortunately where my mind jumps in any big decision, is like, in the worst case scenario, like I'm just out a couple $1,000s. I feel a little stupid. And then the pros is like, this will help me land another role, be more confident in a search and stuff like that. I think it was part of that thought process which helped me get to this specifically. But I think interpersonally, I feel like I've gotten a little better over the years of realizing when I'm getting stuck in that mindset.
And oftentimes I think that's how I operate as well, in terms of what's the worst case scenario? Can I make that back if that turns out to be completely nothing? It's, oh yeah, I could make it back in a week. I could make it back in 2 days. Make it back in 2 weeks. What your target income is, right? And what's the alternative? Staying stuck is not the alternative.
Yeah. I think I always tend to get stuck in that making the perfect decision trap. Before I select a program like this, I should do discovery calls with 10 coaches and make a matrix and rate them and then select from there. Like that was the other thing that was giving me hesitation. It's like, I don't feel like I've done my due diligence here. Yeah.
In hindsight, knowing what you know now, do you think it would have been worth it to look around for more comparisons?
No, I don't think so. The only thing that would have done would be alleviate a little bit of stress. But ultimately, I probably would have made a decision on my gut. And I think the discovery I did with you gave me that gut decision, like this was going to work, because it felt like you got it, right? Like it felt that, hey, like you see this guy that's like trying to make this career pivot, that's not like super confident in himself. And he just needs to like just hone in on what his strengths are and like be confident in that. So like I felt that at a more like personal level, and like I felt like got it, right? And that gave me that gut feeling that, yeah, I think we should do this.
Yeah. You know what's really funny? As you were talking, I was just looking at you thinking, wow, you seem almost like a different person now, Mark. You are so much more confident and self-assured in who you are and what you do.
I do think that the biggest benefit that I've seen isn't so much like landing like whatever role, right? I think it's, I think I said that in my post, right? If this job doesn't work out, right? If I hate it 2 months in and it goes under or something, like I feel more confident that I could like use what I learned here and just reapply it and do it again. So I think that's helping with that worst case scenario feeling too of, yeah, whatever.
I feel like that is actually one of the biggest value coming out of this program. It's really the gift of communication, the gift of confidence. All these transformation is going to help you for the next job search, but also in any big meeting rooms, executive presentations. And yeah, it definitely gives you like the blueprint too, and the confidence to do it for all the future times as well. Yeah. So, Mark, you've already touched on that a little bit, but I want to see were there any specific problems that the program helped you solve?
I felt that the biggest tactical or objective thing was the resume. I felt not confident in the resume. And I feel like that was the basis for like how I told my story. And so how could I feel about framing the story as a PM? Because I just didn't know how to do that. And I think sitting through that workshop with Niels and having that eventually lead to not just like having a resume, but having a confidence in like how I present the work I've done as a product manager. I feel like that was probably like the biggest tactical thing. Because like then I could know how to talk about myself. I didn't know how to talk about myself before because I just didn't objectively know how to best frame that because I hadn't really sat down and thought about it like that. So I think that was probably like the biggest thing that helped among really solid strategies on actually secondary would be the target company stuff. That discussion we had where you really helped me develop like the company profile I'm looking for. Yeah, it built the foundation for, hey, what am I looking for?
That really goes back to like knowing where to go, where you need to go, and how to tackle that. And I think the resume is oftentimes seen as this communication piece that you submit somewhere. Sure, in the end, the outcome is that communication tool that you submit and give it to people. But the process of getting there is actually to give you a lot of clarity. You build your story library, get to know yourself through that lens, and then that's what you use for the interviews as well, right? And how has being part of this program impacted your confidence or mindset, would you say?
Yeah, I think just to expand on some of the stuff I said earlier, with more confident than any potential search, you're more confident that I can, in that worst case scenario, that like I can pull myself up and find another role if something doesn't work out. But I'm thinking more confident in knowing that I always have a ton of imposter syndrome, right? Like going into any role and like when the program has encouraged me in that, I feel like I'm the guy going into things now, right? Hey, I can fix this for you as opposed to being like, oh God, like I have to do this. So I think that confidence is super helpful. And I don't think I would have gotten there without that discussion with you of saying, hey, what your superpower is, right? What you really enjoy doing and why you enjoyed working at Fast Radius so much. Because I couldn't quite articulate that. And that kind of saying, hey, there's all these broken processes. I'm really good at fixing it. I'm good at working in environments where I feel like I can fail, right? Being able to say that out loud kind of reinforces the fact that the confidence is just all prop, right, at a company.
Yeah, totally. I feel like oftentimes when you're good at something, then you oftentimes also take it for granted. You either not know how to say it or you don't say it at all because you think it's actually somewhat normal. Isn't that how other people do that too? And then it's only when someone else actually say, no, that's very special. You should say that. Then you're like, especially if it's like someone, who is an expert in that area giving you that validation, right? Because they have all these comparisons as well. So not because they want to please you, but because they have all these comparisons and laying that across, they then say, actually, no, you were really good at this thing. You should say that. That's gonna, that hits it differently, I think.
It's funny you said that because I remembered you specifically mentioned something like that when I said my superpower is process related stuff. I love doing that stuff. And you were like, I hate doing that stuff. So I realized that like maybe everyone doesn't. So I just figured it was table stakes, right? That's just how you get stuff done. So I was just like, that's what I have to do. But wait, more than that.
Exactly. I remember that too.
That's cool.
What's been the most surprising change you've experienced?
There was two things back and forth in my mind on. One of them was like the success in the LinkedIn posting and engagement. The problem I was up against earlier in the program was just time, right? I struggled with getting time to do everything I felt that I needed to do between work and kids and all that stuff. And like I initially deprioritized the LinkedIn, not the profile, but like the LinkedIn posting for like engagement. And then I took it's funny because like I took a casual break like over the summer. It's like, I got to step away from this for a little bit, like just step back from it. And then the way I got back into it was like, I started doing some cool stuff with the Raspberry Pi, those little chips. And I was like, this is awesome. I want to tell people about this. I should just write on LinkedIn because there's a lot of overlap between that stuff and what I'm doing now. So I just decided to start doing it. And all of a sudden I see the second I would make a post, the following week I'd get 4 or 5 inbound recruiter messages. And like usually about half of them were pretty close to what I was looking for. I think that was the most surprising thing, like how effective that was. If I were to like redo it, I would 100% do that from the start, because if I was probably posting every week, engagement would have been way high on such a niche role. Because I was struggling with finding these companies because they were pretty niche. And I feel like it's easier to say, hey, here's what I'm good at, and then let people come to you. Yeah, that was probably the most surprising thing, how effective that was.
Yeah, that's the attraction, right? The pull mechanism. I got everyone else as well to double down on their content and their visibility plan, because it's been working so well. And people also start looking for candidates more proactively because they can't handle the whole application volume. And so there's a lot of different things going on, which made that extra effective. I'm glad to see that working for you as well. Yeah. But let's talk about the exciting stuff. It's all exciting. Let's talk about the good news.
So yeah, the company, let me start from the frame. So I got an offer from that LinkedIn messaging led to a recruiter reaching out to me for this company that they said was like, hey, they're like a construction tech company. They're really looking at building out their platform for integrating automated design for building mechanicals into a shop floor. And I was like, perfect, manufacturing tech is exactly what I want. Throughout that whole thing, realized, hey, this is like a perfect target. This is like what I was looking for from the start. I was able to lean in from the start on that superpower. I hit on that like sanity to chaos, scaling efficiently, all that stuff. And then I got an offer, a product manager, senior level PM work, because it's like owning a platform, but I'll be owning one of their core platforms that helps to integrate the designs with their shop floor, and it helps shops manage their work. So like a MES system. And yeah, so got an offer. It happened pretty quickly after the panel interview. After the craziness of my current company, I need 4 weeks off, right? Like I just need time off. Excited about that. I'm going into with a pretty significant step up in total comp, which is like not the most important thing for me, but it's a nice validation. Fully remote, which is nuts, right? Because I just didn't think that was possible. Yeah. Right.
I'm so happy for you. It literally has all the things that we've discussed when you first came in. You wanted to stay in that area. You love your community, being local or remote, right? So you definitely needed to be with manufacturing with that angle where you can really shine, and and the scope and the responsibility, and in an area that you really wanted. I'm so excited for you. It literally ticks all the boxes.
And it's funny how it comes up. So I know it's not happenstance, but it feels like it. A LinkedIn post and a recruiter reaching out to me, and all of a sudden you have a job offer. But I know it's all that stuff that leads to that. But yeah,
it's like that with everything else. I think with like finding the right partner, finding the right house. In the end, you just need one. And once you find the one, it actually becomes clear pretty quickly. But along the process, before you are even the right candidate for that role, there's a lot to learn along the way. You do have to go on dates that suck first and things like that, to learn what you want, what you don't want, to then sit in front of the person that you want and realize, no, this is who I am and you are the one that I want. So that's how I see. Yeah.
So what's really interesting, and here's what gave me the most confidence, is that I'm realizing that I was effectively their only viable candidate. And that's what the recruiter told me. And I talked to another person, a former colleague, that is really struggling to hire a product manager that has some hard tech experience. So I'm realizing that there's a big market out there in that niche, and I'm at the top there, right? There's not many marks out there that are mechanical engineers and have experience in manufacturing that are turned into product managers. So I feel that I'm corny in that sense. And I've gotten that sense over the past couple months of how there's not a big candidate out there like that. So that is cool.
That's absolutely cool. I got goosebumps as you were saying that moment when people realize how unique they are, and how they stop doing the thing of, oh, I'm just like a fish in this big pond sort of thing. They truly recognize who they are and what they can bring to the table. Yes, it would be more specific to a smaller niche, but you don't need 10,000 offers. You need one that is really like what you want. And so the moment Is it the career can just like really ramp up in going in different directions? That's awesome. Overall, how do you feel about your life now compared to before you joined the program?
That's a big question. I think I feel like I have a little bit more possibility, right? I hate using like hyperbole, right? But I felt like a little suffocated that like, where do I go next? And I'm not a person that I've always told myself I'm not that person that really puts so much personal worth on my career, right? But I was really struggling to see if I would get any job that I liked doing. And I was struggling to see just finding the bare minimum. All I want is a role that gives me energy to live like the rest of other parts of my life. And I was worried that I wasn't going to find something like that. And then the parts of my life that really matter, which are like myself, family, health, all that stuff was like going to suffer. So I think where I'm at now is that boost of confidence that I felt that I hadn't felt, that I might actually have something that is energizing enough to power the rest of my life.
I think you're a perfect example that the success metric is not always the fastest one who gets there, right? But actually the agreement that you find, the perfect role that you find for yourself.
Exactly. So my wife is really happy, I think, because she sees all of that uncertainty and stress that I've been going through at work. I've had to go into the office a lot more lately, and it's just been layoff after layoff here. So I think it's definite load off for my wife to see me have a chance at something different.
Yeah. Final question I have for you is, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give someone who is considering joining this program, is still a bit on the fence?
If they're on the fence, I would say that it's one of those things that you just need to throw yourself into. The advice would help to say, from a person that overanalyzes everything and thinks like everything needs to be perfect, like nothing's going to be perfect and you just need to jump in. Jumping in is going to allow you to take all the information that you learned from this program and apply it to yourself. Because if you go all in on it, then all in doesn't have to mean you spend 20 hours, 8 hours a day doing it. All in just needs to be like, just like mentally committed to it, right? Like just saying, this is going to work, right? Because this is going to sound funny saying this, but if you jump into any program, unless it's wrong, it'll probably work. The good part about this program is it gives you so many pathways, I think, to like nail it. If you find that LinkedIn posting isn't working, you can pivot. If you find out that your cold outreach isn't working, pivot. If you find out your resume isn't working, you can rewrite it. I think you get so many avenues to shape your job search how you want that it can't not work, because you have every possible avenue. You just need to find out which one works for you.
It's so true, because we have like introverts, extroverts. We have people who likes to be in person, people who likes to write, people who likes to hide behind cameras, people who can't wait to show their face on stage. And there's definitely, like you said, so many different paths of getting there. But we just have to find a way that is customized specifically for you, that works for you, where you have fun doing that. Mark, thank you for always keeping your spirit really high up, even in times where things gets a little bit tricky, and you've trusted my advice. Thanks for allowing us to be part of your journey.
Yeah. And thank you for the push. I think the push was super important. And one of the things that I valued about you throughout the whole process was I can tell how committed you are to helping everybody. Like, your response time is never more than 24 hours, right? You're always willing to jump on a call when you get to the negotiation side. Just that quick response and trying new things and pivoting shows me that you really care and really try. So that gave me some energy throughout it.
Thank you for saying that. If people don't succeed, then what am I even doing here? All right, Mark, let's stay in touch. If you have any questions as an alumni from this program, definitely reach out if you have any questions during the first 30, 60, 90 days.
That's great. Appreciate it.
We're in touch. Okay?
Bye.